Good afternoon to the European and African continents, and good evening to Asia, and good morning to the US, to America. Well, welcome to Putting Circular City into Practice World Circular Economy Forum online side event. I think there are still attendees joining, but we are very happy to welcome everyone to this WCEF online side event. My name is Burcu Tunçer. I'm the head of circular development at ICLEI, Network for Local Governments for Sustainability, at the World Secretariat in Bonn. Well, we are looking forward to an exciting session, a very hands-on circular economy practices session from all around the world. As you know, our objectives are really showcasing how circular economy practices are practically put in place in different cities and regions. We also like to understand the mechanisms allowing cities to work jointly with various stakeholders. Actually, really, this is the essence to make things really happen. And also explore ways of communicating the objectives and the scope of circular economy practices to various stakeholders like businesses, communities, and of course the residents in the cities. Well, without due time, the agenda I'll just like to walk you through. I'll be giving a very brief presentation in order to set the agenda, what our approaches at ICLEI for circular development. Then our partners, co-organizer, City of Turku, Liza Lahti, is going to speak briefly about the importance of stakeholders' engagement, especially in the scope of the project Circular Turku. Then we'll be having a tour around the world, starting from India. The city of Panaji is going to be our focus. Mr. Sanjit Rodriguez is going to be speaking about their work on putting circular economy practices in place. He is the municipal commissioner in the city of Panaji. Then we welcome Ms. Yao Jing, who is the Deputy Director General of the Zero Waste City Task Force in Yitao, which is a district of Beijing, in fact. And they have very exciting experience on zero waste city concept practices, exploring zero waste construction for industrial parks. Then we go to the US, another continent where Ms. Annie Dreddy from the Sustainability Coordination Department at the City of Baltimore is going to share their Recovery from Waste program. And finally, Ms. Liza Lahti, our partner from the Circular Turku project, is going to talk about engagement and many different priority areas for circular economy with many different stakeholders, as we said. Finally, we will have a Q&A session at the very end. We hope to close at 3:30 p.m. CET, Central European Time. And let me just say a few maybe share housekeeping rules. This GoToWebinar is recorded from the beginning, and we will be making this available to our attendees via email and the ICLEI YouTube channel. I also like to invite you all to just post all your curious questions in the chat window, please. And our speakers can directly answer them on the chat. We will be taking one question after each presentation. So yeah, please write your questions over there so that we can grab them and present them to our speakers. And finally, we like to have our speakers just mute themselves when not presenting. So let's go and hear about maybe ICLEI's circular development pathway. ICLEI, if you may know, is a network of 1,750 local and regional governments. We are active in 100 countries and work in many different pathways. As I said, one of them being circular development, and having offices all around the world, for now 26 and still growing. And this is also how we really like to have circular development economy happen all around the world in practice. Just to mention that circular development is very much linked to other ICLEI pathways, such as carbon low emission development, equitable and people-centered development, which is very much related also to stakeholder engagement in governance, nature-based development, of course, regenerative development, and resilience, as we have been experiencing with the COVID agenda. And very briefly, I like to say that as ICLEI circulars, who are the leading members following the CD or the circular development pathway at ICLEI, and all the officers supporting the city along this pathway, see it as really like a journey. And the journey here in this figure you see starts perhaps from the first step of recovery. So it's the most straightforward one. You see it on the right-hand side. It's the first thing one can do for climate change mitigation and clean urban development at the city level. Stop littering, dumping, discarding of materials, and recovering resources at the end of their time. For example, Quelimane, like in Mozambique, it has been recovering food waste from 11 markets within the municipality and taking it to the composting facility. I think Baltimore is going to be sharing a very similar example like that on Waste to Wealth program. But besides good municipal waste management practices, well, some cities think beyond all those services of simple municipal waste management and go and see where the opportunities in the industry management is. For example, cleaner and more efficient manufacturing, so that resources are managed in an efficient manner. Like City of Jaipur, who has set up a wastewater treatment and reuse facility for small size companies, for block printing and textile manufacturing companies, and really preventing the discharge of the contaminated processed wastewater to the nearby river. So this is perhaps the next step. And even further in industrial development, like E-Town is taking, and who will be sharing with us concerning their zero waste construction path in industrial parks. If we go further, increase our ambition level in the reuse stage, we can design better, deliver better, and of course, perhaps repair and reuse. So like the city of Bremen in the Netherlands, who has built their municipal buildings with concrete, using less concrete and having timber as prefabricated components that can be dismantled and reused again. Or perhaps you heard of repair cafe concepts, how to support citizens for their repairing and having them gaining skills for repairing their bikes, jewelry, stereos, any household objects. And city councils in Europe are really taking direction to really help such concepts. And finally, we can come into the design step, where we can really think about eco-innovative circular business models, like the Gothenburg's sharing economy, where we see bicycle kitchens, we see toy libraries, and sharing of the municipal buildings for multi-purposes. And at a very high ambition level, pulling all these strategies together, we can regenerate the urban space. So the regenerative city introduces really the treated water into the hydrology cycle, looking into the food system, how to connect with peri-urban producers, for example, and looking deeply into renewable energies. So if we can put all these strategies into place, that will be really the vision of circular city coming into life. But it's not easy to do, and at ICLEI, we are looking at this framework where we see that there's a national and regional policy framework that needs to be in place, regulatory instruments, economic, informatory, or voluntary, and all the development of these instruments need also stakeholder involvement. And also the public infrastructure and services, how to design, develop, and implement requires collaboration with waste management companies, architectural bureaus, mobility companies. And finally, if we really like to set up repair cafes or really have our residents using eco-design products, we need to work together with retailers, entrepreneurs, community initiatives, and residents. And I think this is exactly our speakers, our participants, what they are really doing, going through this journey. And we hope that more cities from the ICLEI network and other networks can join us. I think this is exactly what we also do with our partners, is working together, like Turku, the city of Turku. I would like to give the word to Lisa, also to welcome our participants and maybe say a few words about the scope of this webinar. Lisa, up to you.
Hello, good afternoon. So my name is Liisa Lahti. I'm the project manager of the Circular Turku project, and I'm gonna introduce it shortly here. So you can go directly to the next slide. My other screen is here, so by the way, I'm looking there from time to time. So basically, in the heart of the Circular Turku project is the circular economy roadmap that is done in partnerships with ICLEI, Finnish Innovation Fund Sitra, and local partners, Finland Futures Research Center of the University of Turku, and Valonia Service Center for Sustainable Development and Energy of Southwest Finland. And I would really point out that the partnership here is the key. We work together almost daily. We support each other. We find new ways of approaching the work and to bring clarity together. As you all know, that circular economy is quite multi-layered and complex issue. And this roadmap will take us closer to reaching our goals, namely that Turku will become carbon neutral by 2029 and resource-wise society by 2040. So meaning no waste, no emissions, and sustainable use of natural resources. And actually, we are on the path to reach carbon neutrality, as we have already cut our emissions by half compared to the 1990 levels. This is thanks to, for instance, investments in renewable energy, district heating, and low carbon transportation. But to reach the final goals, we need to still step up the speed, and for that we need circularity. We see that circular economy is a tool to reach climate targets, and we need everyone involved in this work together, as we have estimated that by a city itself, we can do half of this work, and for the other half, we need the businesses, local actors, and residents involved. So we can go to the next slide, please. So, okay, what is our work about then? So we work through the 5 target or priority theme sectors: food, transport, and logistics, buildings and construction, energy, and water. And from these priority themes, we identify city-led interventions that support a transition to zero emission and zero waste society. And in order to identify these interventions, we work really closely with the local experts and businesses so that they are relevant to them. The interventions need to be action-oriented, they need to be ambitious enough, and they need to inspire local actors to better see also their role in the transition towards resource wisdom. And as social equity is one of our focus areas, on top of this, as we identify these interventions, we also map them with social equity dimensions, namely access, participation, and opportunity, and see how these interventions influence the social equity aspects of local residents. For instance, do they promote access? Do they promote access for only certain resident groups? So then we can go to the final slide. So we in Turku collaborate both on local, regional, national, and international levels, and the collaboration on all these different levels has become really crucial for us. We want to show leadership and willingness to work together. So Turku is actually one of the founding signatories of ICLEI's Circular Cities Declaration as well. And this declaration is officially launched this Thursday. We find this work to be significant because none of us can do this transition alone. And we have to find good ways and better ways to share our resources and know-how. And this is also the reason we have been active in inviting other cities to join the work here around locally and nationally, and to join the declaration as well. And we encourage every one of us to seek partnerships that help us to do our everyday work better, not just to say in nice speeches that we work together, but actually find ways to work daily. So this was my short and sweet presentation in the beginning, and I'll speak to you guys later in the webinar as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's a pleasure working with you and your colleagues at the city of Turku. And we're so excited about the European Circular Cities Declaration that will be launched in a few days at the Mannheim conference organized by our European Secretariat. So I think if there are any questions, we can collect them and pass on to our colleagues on the European Secretariat. And let's go into actually the most interesting part of our webinar, the examples and experiences from cities all around the world. And we first go into Asia. And I would like to invite Mr. Sanjit Rodriguez. He is the Municipal Commissioner, the Corporation of the City of Panaji. Well, I think I can already say good evening, Mr. Sanjit. So please go ahead. We are looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, so greetings from the city of Panaji, the state of Goa on the west coast of India. You know, we are a small city on the coast of the Arabian Sea, and we have done and put all our efforts into decentralized waste management to boost circular economy so that we can reduce our carbon footprint, make savings in terms of treatment of waste, and of course work towards the circularity of our economy. What is a circular economy, and how does a city gain out of a circular economy? You know, the world is moving towards huge consumption-driven economy, where a disposable culture is more prevalent, and especially in this part of the world, people try to imitate a culture which is more and more towards use and throw, which damages our environment, and for which we are paying a huge cost to clear up our city. What does a circular economy do? You know, a circular economy would, as you said, reuse, repair, recycle, and one of the R's which we add to this is replenish. We have to replenish our environment. We have to replenish our earth. We have to replenish our land with whatever we take from it. Every single thing is taken from nature, and unless we work on replenishing it back, our next generation will suffer. So one of the areas to do this is to adopt a circular system of economy right at the base, and the base is our citizens. And we have worked very hard to convince our citizens, to make this mindset change, to make people aware, and to make people believe that a circular economy will be beneficial not only to the city, but also to the entire ecosystem which man lives in. We have, you know, in a circular system and especially in waste management, we have worked with people where we have
excuse me, Mr. Sanjit, we are losing your voice
about our resource mobilization through waste.
We are losing your voice
Okay.
from time to time. Perhaps it's
Should I
good to turn off your camera.
Can you hear me better now?
I think yes. Thank you.
Can you hear me better now?
Definitely,
Okay.
much better.
Can we have the next slide? Yes. Okay. So, what is our first step towards our circular economy? What has our city done? We are a city wherein we have a lot of rainfall, and we have to adjust our waste management program as per this huge monsoon rain. So for wet waste, we have a combination of a home compost system, community compost system, as well as a community biogas system to treat all our wet waste. So we have around 100 compost stations in our small city. They are all community stations where waste is collected door to door and disposed of and treated in this compost stations. No waste is taken out of the city. We have saved on vehicle transportation, huge vehicles. We do collection door to door, and we have these compost stations at every community level. Every new housing complex which is built should have their own capacity of disposing waste. They have to have their own compost station also. We are a tourist city. Lot of tourist footfalls are there. Lot of restaurants, beach shacks, hotels. This generates a lot of commercial food waste. For this, we have set up larger biogas systems with small quantities, 500 kgs, 1 ton, 2 tons, which goes up to 2.5 tons, not bigger. We treat our commercial waste in these decentralized biogas stations. We have around 12 biogas stations planned, and in these biogas stations, the gas which is generated, we pump this gas back to restaurants and to hotels where they use the gas for cooking. So it is a total circularity in place in terms of biogas as well as in terms of compost. What do we do for dry waste? One of the major components of dry waste is segregation, and we have moved in from an initial 4-level segregation to a 16-level segregation at source. So these are, if you see our next slide, you see the 16 fractions in which our city segregates its waste, the community segregates its waste. So this waste again is collected at the colony level, at the building level, at the community level, and it is segregated in material recovery facilities, small units which segregate its waste into 16 such fractions. And what do we do after segregating this 16 fractions? In the next slide, you see how our decentralized sorting stations, it shows their 4-way segregation, which is now going into 16-way segregation. And we have found recyclers for each of these fractions, and the fraction which is not recycled, which is not recyclable, are sent for co-incineration in cement factories. So we are one of the first states in the country where we have sent 100% of our recyclable waste to cement factories. We recover as much as possible to send it to recycling places. So most of our waste which is collected after segregating into 16 fractions, we recycle most of it, and the non-recyclables is co-incinerated in cement plants. This has made our city one of the leading cities which are landfill free. So we do not have a landfill. We do not intend to have a landfill. We do not have a incineration plant set up within the city or for our region. We want to be incinerator free. So we send our waste for co-incineration and recycling. We are a zero waste city, landfill free city, and a fully door-to-door waste compliant city. Can I have the next slide? So as our circular economy in terms of our waste. So the input is segregated. We send it to recyclers. Recycled products come back. A lot of waste is going to substitute coal in our cement factories, and we use the product back into the city. This has resulted in a landfill-free city, and it is saving the city a lot of GHG emissions. It is saving a lot of transport emissions and landfill emissions. What is the impact of our circular waste management system for our city? First of all, the city is proud that it is without landfills. It is zero landfill, and it manages all its waste. Long-term savings in terms of labor, in terms of transport, in terms of fuel cost. Recyclers get better opportunities. Locals are involved in recycling and upcycling of products, which helps local employment. Most of our waste, which was strewn apart, especially dumped across, and generating harmful waste. Most of our untreated waste going into unsecure landfill, that has stopped, and all the GHG gases from a landfill have been stopped. Our freight movement of waste has been reduced to a bare minimum. So we hardly move. Most of our movement happens within the city. Waste does not move out of the city. In many cases, it moves on trolleys and not even on vehicles. We have given encouragement to technical innovations. We have innovated in types of bins, collection systems. We have innovated in terms of biogas facilities, how to do community level biogas facilities. We have startups in terms of biogas which have been encouraged, and we have implemented that. It has resulted in benefits to the society. We have a cleaner environment. We have a bin-free environment. We have a landfill-free environment. Economic benefits, the city has saved money, and definitely environmental benefits have followed of our city. One of the other factors which we have gained is in the overall health of the citizens. We, as a city, had great, incidents of malaria, of dengue, which have been reduced by our cleanliness standards, by treating our waste within our city. So among health parameters also, our city is going right up there, and the benefits in terms of health of citizens, in terms of cleaner air, has helped us throughout. This is what I have today, presenting my city as a zero landfill city. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me at this webinar.
Mr. Sanjit, we thank you for being online still at this hour, and sharing your experience with us. Congratulations for your effort towards zero waste city. We have heard you have managed to have 16 fractions of segregation, and it is quite a challenge, especially to get help from the residents, the citizens, to do that kind of segregation and reach this kind of impact. Annie Dreddy from City of Baltimore is just asking, perhaps you have an answer. How did you enforce this practice among the residents? So high-level separation.
Yes.
Could you perhaps answer to that one?
Yes. Thank you, Anne, for your question. And this change doesn't come fast and quick. It is a mindset change. So we started small. We started with 4 fractions, and we started with one of the biggest decisions we made, that the city would not have a landfill. So it is work in progress, and it has taken us 10 to 15 years to come to this level. One of the things we have done is we have gone to schools, and for the past 15 years, the city has been teaching as a chapter, as a subject, waste management in primary schools. So today, our citizens are aware. They have learned it right from inception, from childhood, that they have to segregate. It is part of the curriculum of our schools, and we have children who have in turn taught their parents. They have taught their house help, and we have enforced it through children, through some legislation, and through some sort of strict enforcement. So all avenues to achieve this have been tackled. It is not that we have gone to residents and said directly you segregate into 16 fractions. No, we have gone from 4 to 8, and we have just gone to 16. Our education system in schools has helped. Our change in legislation has helped, and once you get the strength of citizens behind you, then why not? Why only 16? We will perhaps go and do more. So it is a combination of factors and a combination of decisions, both on the social front, on the enforcement and legal front, as well as on pushing our environmental agenda, which helps. So a lot of events have been held to push this. A lot of incentives have been given to housing colonies to have their 16-way segregation system. All in all, we have now turned the tide, and citizens are with us. I hope it answers your question, Anne.
We appreciate a lot. I think we are hearing in the chat window that everybody is very impressed. Colleagues from the European Secretariat, Simon, is saying amazing achievements. How did Panaji start this journey? But I think, it would be great perhaps to share a story of your journey, impressive story, we have to say, on this ICLEI Circulars platform, so that everybody can benefit. And as you say, engagement with the schools, starting with education from the young age. I think this is also something we will hear from Turku. So that's great. We thank you again very much for your contributions. For time reasons, we will now go to another Asian country. In China, we are going to Yitang, which is a district of Beijing. As we are doing that, I would like to say that we'll be sharing the slides with the allowance of our speakers through email with all participants. And yeah, please keep asking your questions. We could also perhaps answer those questions via email if we don't have enough time for all. Yes, so I have the pleasure now introducing Ms. Yao Jing, Deputy Director General of the Zero Waste City Task Force. Indeed, Yitang has this task given to become zero waste, and they have done already, starting in 2019, many efforts in industrial parks, construction, and implementation. So let's hear about their story. Oh, yes, my colleague is reminding me, indeed. I would like to also, please, all our participants, our audience, have your attention in the section in the GoToWebinar control panel, section called Handouts. We will be showing a video of Ms. Yao Jing. So if you would like to see the slides she will be referring at, please look at the handouts section, and you will see that there a PDF. You can easily download it on your computers, so it can accompany the video of Ms. Yao Jing.
Honorable expert, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm very glad to have this opportunity to explore the development of the world circular economy. As a representative of Zero Waste City, today I'd like to share some practice and experiences of Beijing Economic Technological Development Area in the process of the construction of Zero Waste City. First, let me introduce the basic situation of Beijing Economic Technological Development Area, we call it BDA. BDA is located in the southeast of Beijing. It constructed in 1992 and currently with the in jurisdiction of 60 square kilometers. At present, we have formed 4 major industries, including new generation information technology, high-end new energy automobile, biomedicine and big house, robot and intelligent manufacturing. In 2019, we were successfully selected as the Zero Waste City pilot program, focused on explore the zero waste construction paths of industrial parks. Through 1.5 years of pilot construction, we have achieved several remarkable results. Next, I'd like to introduce the beneficial attempts taken in the process of construct Zero Waste City. First, in terms of top-level design, we try to build a comprehensive treatment system to achieve refined management and industrial solid waste. As early as 2014, BDA established a special fund for environmental protection to support enterprise in energy saving and emission reduction, regarding the reduction of industrial solid waste at the source. In addition, we set up a general industrial solid waste information management system. It can not only help us trace the information on material flows from the solid waste procurement to final recycling, but also analyze the potential symbiotic relationship between the different industrial chains. In the end, it can help us realize the online transaction and the market-oriented operation of the comprehensive optimization of solid waste. Second, in terms of green manufacturing, we explore the construction of a green manufacturing system to achieve green industrial development. The first step is to create a green park. We established a reasonable industrial chain to realize the relationship layout of the industrial structure and the development of the industrial clusters. The second step is to build green supply chain. We have selected several leading comprehensive from different industrial and took the lead of the implement green supply chain management. Assisting them to informating the development plans and conducts green check on supplies through third parties. Until now, we have optimized management of industrial solid waste more than 100 enterprises. The third step is to build a green factory. In the design stage, the company adopts energy-saving tech to construct and renovate the building, and reserve places of renewable energy applications. In the production stage, the company adopts associated clean production tech, configures efficient recycling and processing equipment, promote green procurement, and develop green products. The last part I want to share is we always adhere the 3R principle to achieve industrial technological innovation. We incubate advanced technology through the science plus technology model, cultivate them from industrial clusters. At the same time, encourage companies to increase R&D efforts, conquer core technologies. For example, a company explores the technology of recycling the metal in the copper-containing waste liquid, and finally realize the total purification and reuse. Taking into account the concentration of BDA operational industrial parks, we use park-oriented operation methods to cultivate a new solid waste recycling services system to reduce the solid waste generation rate and increase recycling rate. At present, the market-oriented operation model has been separated for a wide area in the region. In the process of construction of zero waste city, the city managers and the enterprise have formed a positive interaction relationship of cooperation and multi-benefit. On the one hand, managers attract enterprise to talent through reasonable industrial layout, a series of incentive policy support and sound infrastructure. Meanwhile, we have put forward restrictive requirements for economic, social, and ecological indications of enterprise. On the other hand, in this kind of business environment, enterprise get more opportunity to obtain better economic benefit. At the same time, they could pay more attention to social benefit, increase investment in energy conservation and environmental protection as much as possible. It will improve their market comprehensive while actively practicing social responsibilities. It has been only 1.5 years since the pilot construction of the Zero Waste City in BDA. We are still in the stage of continuous exploration and practice, and have certain gaps and shortcomings in some areas. I hope that through today's sharing and exchange, we can learn more experiences and models from the advanced practice of the other city, constantly up our development concept, and contribute to the development of the world circular economy. Thank you very much.
Ms. Yaojing, thank you very much for your contributions. In fact, she's online, so if you have any questions, we will be happy to see them on the chat box and collect them so we can take them afterwards. We have heard exactly the topic of this webinar, how close cooperation with the industry can happen in the Beijing Economic Technology and Development Area, in short BDA. And thank you again very much for sharing the 1.5 years of story. I think there's more to come, so we'll be happy to follow up further. Also in another project, we are implementing Urban Transition Alliance. We are so glad that you're part of this alliance, that I think we will hear more and exchange experiences on that, how industrial park development based on the circular economy principles can happen. You also touched upon the green supply chains, how it impacts the CSR, corporate social responsibilities of companies. So these are all interesting, I think, going up the hierarchy that we mentioned in the beginning. So let's travel to the US, to Baltimore, and we say good morning to Andretti. She's the sustainability coordinator at the City of Baltimore. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing with us the Recovery from Waste program. And so, please, the floor is yours. And I think you're muted. Could you start again? Thanks a lot. We can hear, we can see you very well. It might be that there is a rights issue because the connection got lost. So perhaps the rights are also lost. So I'd like to ask Patricia, our technical support, to give you speaker rights. It should take a couple of seconds.
Do you hear me now?
Now you're on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Please go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me here today, and thank you to, it was great to hear about my Asian colleagues. It sounds like you're doing amazing work. Baltimore, Maryland is located on the east coast of the United States. It's a port city, and it's about 30 miles from our US capital, Washington, DC. And I'm going to talk about our Waste to Wealth program today. This is a program focusing on removing some of the larger items from our city's waste stream and working to create a circular economy in Baltimore. And it involves reuse instead of landfilling, because we have a city-owned landfill here, and also to remove items from our incinerator. We do have an incinerator run by a private company in Baltimore where 40% of our city waste goes. And our Waste to Wealth program creates jobs, combats blight, and revitalizes neighborhoods. And if you want to go to the next slide. So it begins with a rethinking of what we're doing and how we normally do business. And it targets 3 high-value, primarily non-industrial waste streams: our construction waste, our wood waste, which comes from our city's downed street trees and park trees, and our food waste. And these 3 valuable resources enter the waste stream, are captured and reused in a way that are an economic engine of development, creating jobs and new products while reducing what's going into our landfill and incineration. So the first one is the deconstruction instead of demolition. Construction waste is one of the largest items in our waste stream. And Baltimore was built for a population of 1 million people, and we currently have 600,000 residents. So we have a lot of vacant row homes. We are a city of row houses. And we created a program for deconstruction. So a percentage of our buildings are taken apart board by board. And this reduces our waste and reuses and sells valuable materials and creates living wage jobs. Just so you know, in the US, about 300,000 homes are demolished each year, which is a large-scale waste problem. Our deconstruction program diverts up to 90% of the building waste. And for every job that demolition creates, deconstruction creates 6 to 8 jobs. In the case in Baltimore, we created a social enterprise where 40% of the employees who are hired face barriers to employment, such as having been incarcerated. And over the couple of years that we've had it, it's grown to a $4 million business by selling all the products that come out of the row homes. The second stream is our wood waste. So for 25 years, we stacked our downed trees in piles 20 feet high, rows and rows and rows of them, and they were decomposing tree trunks, which was a major fire hazard, among many other things, and losing a great resource. So after many years and many attempts of trying to figure out what to do, a number of years ago, we borrowed just under $100,000 US from our city's finance department to turn this program around. And we ended up hiring somebody with a business background who developed a city-owned wood enterprise on this 2-acre site. And this resulted in reducing city expenses about $60,000 annually, and the diversion of the city trees from the waste stream. And the third prong is our food waste. With a wide variety of stakeholders, we developed the Baltimore Food Waste and Recovery Strategy, which lays out reasons for waste prevention and the methods and goals to get there. And as a result of writing the strategy, the Natural Resources Defense Council, which is a national organization, chose Baltimore and one other US city to do what they call a deep dive on food waste. And it came with about $500,000 US from the Rockefeller Foundation. And about $200,000 of these funds were given to local organizations to lift the work they were already doing around prevention, reuse, and recycling. And then we were able to hire a full-time city employee to move the needle in all areas of waste. And one of the key things we did was form a 6-city agency partnership, so that we meet monthly and we're working together in many different angles to move food waste, to reduce our food waste. We hold quarterly meetings with our hospitals, universities, as well as our urban farmers, nonprofits, everybody and anybody who's interested in food waste, to try to talk about techniques about getting it out of the waste stream. And then the next slide, please. So I work for the city in the Baltimore Office of Sustainability, and we have the time to be a thought leader because we don't, as a city agency, implement things. We don't respond to complaints generally from residents or provide any city services. We're planners. We convene people, develop plans, we set goals, and we don't really have anything to gain by these projects, nor are we competing with others. Our main goal is increased sustainability through a balance of social equity, economic and environmental health, and whatever benefits the city and its residents. One of my favorite things that we do at the office is incubate ideas. With the Wood Waste Project, for example, we came up with the idea of applying for this city loan, and we partnered with our Department of Recreation and Parks Forestry, our finance department, and our procurement office to figure out how strategically we could use the money to reduce costs. And so we did end up hiring a staff person who set up this business model. And we spent about a year getting this whole thing set up and running. And then once it's up and running, we hand it off to the Department of Recreation and Parks Forestry Division when it's able to stand on its own feet. And then we can focus on what the next project will be. But these, as everybody knows, these things don't come easily. It takes lots of time to get things done. We have to continually partner with others, think out of the box, and gain trust, build relationships with everybody. And we fail a lot of the times before we get success. For the demolition project, convincing our housing department to put out a deconstruction contract took a lot of time and effort, because it would cost a little bit more money, but we were, convincing them the benefit of salvaging and reselling and the materials and creating new living wage jobs for people who were hard to employ. And we failed twice. We got two separate nonprofits to connect with our housing department, and they both failed. It takes a lot to keep thinking that this is the right idea and to keep rethinking how to do it best and keep moving it forward. And it turned out to be a great success, but over time, until we found the right nonprofit. And then I just have that phrase there in my presentation. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying not yet. I think when we are working with people and we do approach them with new ideas, they are saying no. But in our minds, we hear them say not yet, because we either haven't presented it in a way that benefits them, or we don't have quite the right idea yet. So we need to kind of, not be discouraged, because it's an easy thing to be when you have this great idea, you go forward and people don't get on board with you, but you have to keep going. And know that you're trying to shift, you're an innovator, you're trying to shift behavior, you're trying to shift thinking, and we can continue just to tweak our plans and find new ways to do things. And one of the great things that happened out of this Waste to Wealth project is that our Department of Public Works just finished a 30-year solid waste plan. And they had a consultant for a year long working for them. And the centerpiece of their plan became our Baltimore Office of Sustainability Plan and our Food Waste and Recovery Plan. So all the hard work we do with our plans and our goal setting and our partnerships, and we're recognized and used in our solid waste plan. So I think, the work can be benefited as long as we keep going at it. So that's what I have for today. Thank you very much.
Verani, thank you to you. Very interesting insights. I think as I was listening to your presentation, it sounded like you're an entrepreneur, trying new ideas, and sometimes you think failing, but always looking forward for trial of new things in the construction sector, in the food area, lots of learnings. And it's also very interesting that you talked about creating a new market, jobs, linkage to social issues. I bet as we go up in the circular development challenge, those links to different issues, different social challenges come up, and you are looking also collaboration between different departments. I think there is one question that we'd like to direct to you, if you can, maybe you're seeing that from Kathleen Dietz, actually from our colleague in Freiburg from the European Secretariat, as they also have work going on, very interesting projects in this subject. She's asking how you have been working in the development of the construction sector related effort, whether refurbishment was considered prior to the construction, and how did you make the effort of having this economically viable, the recovery of construction materials? Are these materials employed, again, like used, re-employed locally, or were the jobs regionally created? Perhaps reflection from your end, how did you plan this work on the demolition waste?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the very important question is, how do we stabilize buildings first before we take them down? The deconstruction or the demolition is the last resort for buildings. What's happened in Baltimore is that the buildings were built so long ago for a U.S. city, and then abandoned by many people for various reasons, which is a whole interesting story. But a lot of the roofs and the windows were gone, so the rain gets in and the buildings become inhabitable, and everything inside becomes rotted. So we do try to first preserve buildings because they're built with very nice materials as well. And then the demolition and deconstruction is the last thing that we would do. We worked with a local workforce nonprofit who created a new arm of their nonprofit to do this deconstruction work. And they're the ones who hire the workforce and train the workforce, and also they keep all the materials. So we have really nice original brick, that's local brick from Baltimore, as well as very nice wood and marble. And they are the ones that are in charge of, it's their product once they remove it. So they have a brick warehouse and sell boards locally and nationally. This has evolved over time, but they started selling locally, but then they saw a national market as well. So in the last couple of years, they've been making a profit of about $4 million selling the items that they've gotten from the deconstruction.
Thank you very much. I think we will be definitely following up, as my colleague in the chat window was saying, in the UTA project, we'll be following up these experiences and keep sharing. Perhaps I allow to take one more question, if that's okay, Annie, for you. I hope it's not too early to bombard you with many questions. On the food front, we heard about the food waste reduction efforts. How are you measuring those efforts? What kind of indicators are you using? I see from Chrissy Baxter. Perhaps we can hear about that.
Right. Well, with our solid waste master plan, they did measure what was happening. So we got a baseline measurement, which we really hadn't had before. So about 1/4 of our waste is food waste. And we know in the US it can be up to 40% of waste is food waste. And we also know that food waste is the heaviest waste too. And so we got a baseline from them. And what we start doing, like for example, we started collecting food scraps at our farmers markets. And at those markets, we have scales. So people come and weigh their waste before they dump it into the buckets. So we're trying in every way we can to do that. And we have waste haulers for many of our institutions. And what we're working with is working with our state elected officials to try to get some legislation passed where institutions would, over a certain tonnage, would have to track their waste. So because we don't really have an idea of what's being diverted institutional-wise. But in our last legislative session and also in our upcoming session, we're going to, the state delegates are going to try to get legislation passed, because we're going to need that, because people aren't willing to voluntarily track that. So we're going to have to enforce it that way through legislation.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. Like we saw the whole framework you need to have in place also to keep track of things, the sustainability aspect of these efforts. and also engaging for measurement even with those stakeholders. Yeah, we are so excited to dig deeper in the Urban Transition Alliance project. So yes, if you can perhaps stay with us, Annie, maybe at the end we could answer more questions I see there, but I would like to have our colleague Lisa Lahti from Turku coming in and yeah, sharing with us the more specific. I think we heard about the Circular Turku project, the roadmap effort that is in place, but we will dive deeper into the stakeholder engagement part. Quite a bottom-up effort, and looking forward to hearing your story, Lisa. I also want to say there has been an earlier question from Adrian Brown, I think, Arctic Values, and he was asking about sustainable investment strategies, whether there is any project financing planning, even from a private global investor going on. Perhaps, Lisa, you can touch upon that too as you present. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the previous presentations. And actually, I could answer the question from Adrian, was it? Yeah, Adrian, right away. That's a good idea. And we have actually, what we have done already in the past is that we got 150 million collateral from European Investment Bank, which enabled us to invest 334 million into clean building, logistics, and energy. So we have done this in the past, and what this collateral, like the criteria for us was that we had to include the climate targets into all of our investments criteria. So that was a 1.5 year work from the city staff to actually do that for the investments. So yes, that has been done in the past and should be done also in the roadmap. So thanks for the good idea. Okay, so I will now jump into the kind of how we build competencies and how we attract talents. And we can go to the next slide, please. And this is actually, I'm saying a bit of the same things as in the previous presentation as well. So do we have the ability to reimagine and recreate our society? As we know, in order for us to do this transition towards circular economy, we need a completely new mindset. In practice, we need to build our existing value chains of how we produce, for instance, our houses, the city infrastructure, the food, the energy, the mobility, and our consumer goods. And as we know, it requires more than just a few people to be involved and inspired. We need so many people on board from across different sectors to enable the innovations needed and the value chains to be resifted and reorganized. And we cannot do this unless we have the skills and the brain power to act on it. So I would say competencies are actually in the core of all this circular economy work. And when I talk about competencies, I mean, for instance, the ability to imagine, to reimagine the new society, the new business models, the new ways to produce goods and services. And I also mean the ability to stay strong and not to be turned off, as the previous presenter was saying, not to be turned off by sometimes the overwhelming amount of news about the decoration of the world or the speed of the improvements needed. We need the ability to act, to build something in concrete, either it to be new material reuse facility or new business model. And we need a good mixture of these qualities for enough people. Okay, so from this bit of a philosophical thoughts into the reality in Turku, what is actually happening here that is boosting the competencies and attracting talent and creating a positive spiral of action around here. So I give you 3 examples in short, different ways of doing it. First one, universities boosting competencies through innovation labs. Second one, new initiatives and investments through multi-stakeholder circular economy platforms. And thirdly, cities climate team inviting businesses and organizations to showcase their action. And thank you already for switching the slide as we go. Okay, so what are the universities? Oh, you can go back. Is that the previous one was the correct slide? Okay, cool. So what are the universities actually doing about to boosting the competencies through innovation labs? Okay, I'll give you a few examples. For instance, the circular economy 2.0. So the Turku University of Applied Science has this circular economy 2.0 lab, which is actually the heart of the operations of the circular economy studies and student projects. So the students are involved in real company cases throughout their studies. The students work in small groups and are under they have involved in the team the managing director, and they are supported by mentors from the research group. So the students don't have to, they are not just dumped into the work, but they get constant mentoring in order for them to do their job better and to learn as they go, as they study, as their competencies build up. Usually the students are recruited to the team for a longer time, and each student gets tasks based on their individual skills and interests, which they can do either on their own or in the group. So then the next example is the local circular economy hub and learning environment of Topinpuisto. So the Topinpuisto Circular Economy Hub is a business hub situated in Turku, and it's developed by and coordinated by the local municipal waste management company in southwest Finland. The collaboration there is built around the utilization of material, water, and energy flows, as well as service development. And on top of that, being a physical area, Topinpuisto is also a network of numerous businesses and research institutes, linking the region to national and international collaboration. The network provides services to support the development of circular economy solutions and businesses. So the next one is Bastu. So Bastu is a business enabler run by the University of Turku, and it's for the entrepreneurs and businesses in the Turku region. And its guiding philosophy is based on the sixth wave, so meaning that it focuses on the scarcity of natural resources and new innovative ideas that challenge established conventions. The core of Bastu is to promote a circular sharing economy, and it has extensive experience in matching businesses with each other to promote new innovations, to come up with new pilot concepts, and that can be actually turned into everyday new business. Then another thing, the feasibility study that you can see on the top right hand corner. I think part of boosting the competencies is also that we have to make visible all of us who are actually working and doing this work daily in this area. So as a part of the preparation of the circular economy roadmap, the Finland's Futures Research Center conducted a study of different circular economy actors and networks in Turku region. And the result actually was that there are 700 actors around this area who work with circular economy, of which 270 are companies. So this is one way of actually boosting that spiral of making visible what is actually happening here. We are not alone, we are here together doing this work. Then next slide, please. I'm looking a bit of the time, so I might.
No worries, we have time, Lisa.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So then I have a story of Telaketju. And this is really exciting example of how brave individuals can start a major shift. So around in 2015, some experts from the local waste management company and researchers from the Turku University of Applied Science, they wanted to start to investigate what can be done to the end-of-life textiles. Basically, they started to collect the textiles without knowing what they will end up doing with them, and just started to research the possibilities. this collaboration expanded into this Telaketju cooperation network that you can see all the different companies and institutions there with the logos. And this project now includes developing the collection, sorting out and refining processes of end-of-life textiles. And these collaborations enabled that a pilot facilities of sorting out and refining the textiles is now being built in Paimio, that is near Turku. So it was quite, from 5 years of not knowing what to do with the textiles, now the pilot facility is being built, which is quite fast actually. And the aim is to build in 2023 full-size operational recycling facility that has the capacity to recycle all textile waste from Finland. And in order to actually utilize all the different materials and fibers, these companies that you can see there are now working together to come up with different processes and end products to really benefit from all the different fibers, all the different material flows. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but they are really, really commitment to doing this work together. We have also some other similar stories. For example, through city-owned company Turku Science Park and its Clean Turku ecosystem, we have been supporting the development of the Smart Chemistry Park, which is an industrial symbiosis initiative aimed at recycling industrial size streams into high-value chemical products. So the innovations at the Smart Chemistry Park, such as technology increasing the recycling rate of electric vehicles, lithium-ion batteries, have been transferred into large branches industry of Finland. And this is another example of how a local innovation can support the low carbon transition and the circular economy transition at the national level. Okay, and now we can go to the last slide. So what does the city do? We actually invite companies to join the climate team that we can showcase their climate and circular economy action and boost the ambition level of the different businesses, different actors, and boost the collaboration. So this is what we are committed to doing with one of the things we're committed to doing with the companies, and this is how we also are able to create that positive spiral of us rising the ambition level of the companies, and then again they saying to us what we need to do more. So a few points to take home from my point of view, or from Turku's point of view, is that action is in the heart of learning and competencies. We need to build the competencies by doing, trying out and failing sometimes, as we found out in the previous presentation as well. Be inclusive, let the people decide what they want to do and throw gasoline into the flames. We have managed to create this positive spiral of action here because of this, that we invite different people to do different things, and then we work together to create the more ambitious actions. And be bold. Don't be afraid. Sometimes it's good to throw out the little bit too ambitious goals and ask people to come and help you achieving them. Okay, that was my last point. Thank you. This is our city slogan, so be bold. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all those bold actions, Lisa, for sharing all those with us. I have, I think, one question from Stephanie that I can directly ask. First of all, Ursula, I think, like, who started the conversation about circular economy in Turku? And there's a specific one on textiles. It seems that you're quite ahead of the curve on textile recycling. The first challenge in Europe will be the separate collection of textile waste. I think the targets from Circular Economy Action Plan. But Stephanie is asking how the collaboration between these textile companies happen. Perhaps you can answer those two questions.
So who started the the action here? Which is kind of, I think already a funny question, because of course it's difficult to say which one is the egg and which one is the chicken. But I know that Turku has had already years of this ambition of this like kind of level, like that even if we don't know where we're going to end up, we are going to set the goals and we are just going to say, okay, let's do it. Like, let's have this goal for 2029 when Turku is going to turn 800 years to be climate neutral. Let's ask people to join. So, like, and of course, we are super lucky that we have the research institutions here to support that also and be the hubs of innovation and creation. But I would say it's kind of impossible to say who has started this spiral. But yeah, it means the both. It needs the decision makers who are giving the signal, strong signal. We have been blessed to have ambitious, bold decision makers who actually get what circular economy is. And then we need all the local actors to support it and like actually to tell back to us that we need to do better as well. That was a bit kind of going around the question maybe, but hopefully good enough. And then one maybe like a kind of a individual thing that happened in 2015 was that Turku made a commitment with Sitra Finnish Innovation Fund to start to work together to enable the transition into resource-wise society. So that has been one of like kind of major milestones along the way to make this commitment and to aim there systematically. And the second question was about the textiles, about the companies, different companies working with the textile. Can you please refine the question?
Let me help with that. I think the collaboration is pretty hard to coordinate. Stephanie's question is a bit similar. Who started that? Is it the university that is involved? Who's doing more coordination? Is there a committee? What kind of maybe governance that you have there?
Okay. Well, I would say that they're like really in the core of starting that was the regional waste management company and the Turku University of Applied Science. They were kind of bold enough, these two actors were bold enough to start to collect, like they have said themselves, we were thinking maybe we are creating a huge problem for ourselves because we are collecting waste that we cannot do anything about. We are just collecting it. But then they started to research, okay, what could be done to the different material streams, to the different fibers. And they ended up getting more and more companies involved, research institutions involved to come up with the solutions to match the material flows. And now it's come to this that, okay, the pilot factory is being built and they want to scale that up to be to recycle all textile waste in Finland, which is huge. So you need those few crazy people who are bold.
That sounds like any story. Being really ahead of the curve, taking action. You also advise, try it. Build competencies and try to start a positive spiral of action. And knowing that Turku is only 300,000 crowded town, it's quite impressive all these activities you're having. Also hearing, for example, Bastu, the business enabler, circular economy support program, and the circular economy hub. These are really interesting examples. For the participants, if you like to read about these in detail, in fact, these are compiled in a publication on ICLEI website. You can find them or just reach that through the Turku website. And so watch the space. There is more to come, right, Lisa? We are working in the details of the roadmap. Thank you so much, Lisa. I think we have a few minutes, and I'd like to go back to Annie if she's still with us. There was a question which I find quite relevant for this webinar that we could perhaps explore, Anne, with you. We had a question on how you engaged or approached the stakeholders, first of all. How did you excite them and convince them? Basically, creation of resonance and excitement. So is this fact-driven? Is it more about, ownership for the city, or is it more about numbers? I remember you mentioned lots of concrete numbers on, for example, the investment, how it returned back, or creation of jobs. So I think we would benefit a lot from your experience if you tell us the secret behind stakeholder engagement.
I don't know about the secret, but I think for different projects, we start looking at who's engaged, who's in this field or in this area. For example, for the food waste and recovery strategy, we brought together about 75 people from throughout the city who we thought might touch upon food in their work or their lives. And I think when you start that way, start with who's interested, who's involved in something, and bring them in. I always say that when the city, the municipality steps up and does the convening, people are really interested in that. They think there's value, so people will show up. So we had about 75 people for the food waste strategy. It was residents, city agencies, the school system, the university system, people who were haulers, people who were innovative business people who had interests. So for that, we got everybody together and spent about a year breaking into groups and writing a plan and setting ambitious goals around food waste and writing out the strategies and the actions. When we were doing the other two waste streams here, it was mostly city government who we were working to engage, and that's not always very easy either. As I said about the housing department, they had no concept really about why this was, they never thought about it. So it was trying to introduce a new idea to them and show them the value of it for their agency, but also show the larger value for the city, convincing them of that, or showing them through other actions how that would be important. In terms of engaging residents, we have done a lot of that, not specifically, we're starting to through the food waste. We're out and about. We produced we had some grant funding to produce some really beautiful handouts on how to food waste prevention and recycling. But one of the ways previously that when we updated our city sustainability plan, which was signed last year, we used local residents and brought them in and trained them to reach out to their neighbors. So you were using people who lived in your neighborhood who were talking to others about these ideas, and we called them ambassadors to go out and so they would be trusted instead of the government going out to people. So there's multiple ways for doing this for multiple levels of people.
I appreciate that. Great, thank you very much. I think maybe the secret sauce first creating awareness and showing clear value, and also the peer-to-peer maybe exchange. Very good. Thank you so much, Anne. And to all speakers and to participants for their very active engagement. There are a few questions we couldn't answer, but in the summary of this webinar, we will try to perhaps include the answers there, and we're going to be preparing a summary and sharing it with the Circular Turku website and also Urban Transition Alliance website. We'll be, of course, emailing you those summaries, including the presentations. So I think we're a little bit over time, but I just want to close by saying we have run the journey through 5 hours, hearing from different cities, where we looked into recovery, how to really reach high levels of segregation, reducing the efficiencies in the industrial parks, the Beijing Economic Technical Development Area, looked into reuse in the construction, food sector, and heard about creation of new business models, how to foster that, maybe some tips from Turku we heard. And I think as ICLEI will be continuing under circulars, collecting all these experiences and facilitating an exchange, please get in touch with us. Here you see my contacts, but also on the ICLEI website you can find us. And the last note, in a couple of days, European colleagues have a huge conference with the city of Mannheim. We are warmly invited to follow the European best cases and of course the Circular Cities Declaration launch, and after that we'll be having daring cities for a month at ICLEI, and there are some circular development sessions as well, so just check that space. Thank you again and see you soon.